Meet us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. Hey guys, welcome to the review of the BlackBerry Passport. This is Phil from undercage.com, and this is the BlackBerry Passport, and this is a one weird looking phone from BlackBerry, which is not exactly known for this kind of newest trials, but they've done it. This is the BlackBerry Passport, and it's got a big 4.5-inch display, 1440 by 1440, well, relatively big for a BlackBerry, and BlackBerry logo on top, receiver, front-facing camera, and this weird-looking QWERTY keyboard. This only has 3 lines, and because of that, there's no Shift, Alt, or the space bar at the very bottom is kind of intruding to the lines of where there should be more keys. We'll get into more of that later. This probably is their attempt to get more of a screen ratio that most of the QWERTY smartphones had to lose because there was such a large amount the keyboard was taking from the phone. Aside from that, there's a volume rocker and the quick assistant key on the right hand side, and on the top there's a power key with the little hole right here. We'll get to that later, and the earphone jack and micro USB port, along with the stereo speaker that outputs a pretty good volume when you're playing music on it. And there's a microphone, of course. And to the back is a 13 megapixel camera, LED flash, BlackBerry logo, and the built-in 3450 milliamps of battery. And what's missing over here is a SIM card tray and the micro SD card slot. Does the BlackBerry Passport not have it? It does over here at a very weird location. So this top part of the BlackBerry Passport is detachable, so it gives you access to the micro SD card slot and the nano SIM card slot. Alright, you can put it back on like that, and that's a very neat idea that BlackBerry has put on the Passport. And the sideways is surrounded by the metal shillings, and it feels really nice and sturdy when you're holding it in your hand. It gives you the reliability that you can feel from the BlackBerry Passport. Alright, so this rather is a big phone. Even compared to the bigger phones in the market, like this Xperia Z1 is a 5-incher, and here is the iPhone 6 Plus. The BlackBerry Passport still is as wide as the iPhone 6, even wider than the iPhone 6 Plus, and even though it's shorter, it's kind of weird to be holding in the hand. But you'll get used to this very soon. Alright, so there are 2 ways of turning on the BlackBerry Passport. One is, of course, the power key, obviously, or you can swipe from the bottom to top. And it's going to take you to this screen where it has the previously launched applications. This works sort of like a widget, but not so well, because most of the times you will be running Android applications, and Android apps do not support the widget mode. Instead, you can move the apps around, like here and there, but that's not exactly going to be a whole lot of usefulness. So that's that. And you can, whenever you're in the app, you can always swipe up to close the app, or you can swipe from top to right to get into the BlackBerry Hub. So that's that, and there are apps, of course, the apps from the BlackBerry world. Let me make this a bit brighter. From the BlackBerry world, but those are not exactly the apps that you'll be using most of the times, because they're really small amount. Like when I mean really small, that means really small amount of BlackBerry apps. So instead, you'll be able to use BlackBerry Android apps either from getting your APK files. That's a package file from the Android. That's an extension that they have. APK files from the Android somewhere, or you're going to be using an app called Snap. Snap is an app that allows you to gain access to the Google Play Market and download apps directly. I use mostly for the APK file, so we'll get to that. Inside this BlackBerry, all BlackBerry OS 10, they have an Android compatibility to some sort. And to some sort, it is decently working. Let's get into more of a hardcore Android compatibility. I have a launcher over here. It takes you directly to the Android-looking screen over here that gives you even access to the Android settings. So this is just like a little Android built into BlackBerry Passport. This is not just like a simple compatibility, but it actually does have an Android inside. But it does not guarantee you to use the phone as an Android device, but it gives you a likely functionality. So let's get into some of the Android apps, like don't exactly have much to talk about. Let's get into Google Apps, you'll have a little trouble running them, but you do have an access. It even runs apps like Benchmark flawlessly. So this is a typical Android app, and hold on while it initializes. And when you run it, most of the apps run totally fine, even with the squarish screen. If you don't like a little bar here that gives you the back key, you can swipe from the top and you can hide the bar. Then how are you going to use the back key? You can swipe diagonally on the bottom half of the screen like that, and it's going to work as a back key. For the menu, if you need one, you can always swipe from the top to bring the Android menu when you're hiding a little bar there. So that's the Android compatibility. Let's get into the more of the BlackBerry likely thing is. All right, first of all, call quality is amazing. BlackBerry has been known for that, but this still has that amazing call quality, and the speaker does an amazing job. The receiver on the top does an amazing job, whether you're talking on the receiver or the speaker phone half of the phone. And of course, by talking about the basic functionalities, we can't miss the QWERTY keyboard. And the QWERTY keyboard, you might be wondering, where's the shift and the alt key? How am I going to use the shifts and the other functions? So let's get into, text messages, not so much. Let's get into the search function over here. So search function over here gives you a little bar over here when you're typing from your keyboard. So let's say that under KG, there's a shift key over here, and you can tap and hold on it to caps lock the keys. So there is capital letters, all right? And there's always a period, question mark, and the exclamation mark. And if you want to use more of a characters, there's number keys and other things that you can input from the soft mode. This might look a little weird, but the shift key is always there and the period is always there, so you'll get used to it. It feels a little weird to move between the touchscreen and the hardware keyboard, but you'll get used to it very soon. Another part about this amazing little keyboard is that it is touchscreen, touch enabled. It means, weirdly enough, it's touch sensitive, so you can, if you're putting a sentence over at the input there, you can swipe to left to erase everything. This isn't the only thing that it can do. So let's say that you're in settings. You want to scroll, but you don't want to get into the screen so much, then you can scroll from the keyboard. This is an amazing function that gives you, because this is not exactly the easiest grippable phone in the world, you can always use the keyboard to make yourself not swapping around the screen so much. You can always stick to the keyboard half of the screen. And the keyboard is actually pretty much easier to use. And another perspective of the basic BlackBerry function is, of course, it's a smartphone, so it's gotta have a camera, and it does have a 13 megapixel camera. And the other siblings, well, this camera were terrible actually. And 13 megapixel on the BlackBerry Passport's camera actually does a decent job. It's not amazing on the low lighting conditions, but if your lighting is good enough, it's gonna take an amazing 1:1 ratio photo suitable for your Instagram. And if you don't want that, of course, you can make the ratio into 4:3 or 16:9. And the front-facing camera is actually good enough, but it's not going to have that fancy face smooshing function. So if you want to look beautiful like a queen, then you will have to use a third-party application, which is, of course, there are tons in the Android world. And the speaker is really good. When you're listening to music, earphone half of the phone doesn't really put that much of a great music. Well, but it's personal taste. But speaker half of the phone is really good. It's probably one of the best speakers I've ever seen. Of course, the iPhone or the Galaxy Note 4 has a better pair of a speaker, but BlackBerry Passport does an amazing job considering that it's a BlackBerry indeed. And what about the battery life? Of course, you can monitor your battery life from the top over here. There's a device monitor, and it gives you every single details about what has been using your battery, what has been sucking up your battery, and thanks to that 3450 milliamps of battery, it does an amazing job as a BlackBerry. The battery life is actually really good, and it's gonna be easy enough for you to last about 1 day with the BlackBerry Passport. So this is a weird phone, of course, and it's a BlackBerry, of course. Not have all the apps that you need, but it does have Android compatibility, and it looks really cool. To be honest, you'll get used to this phone very quickly, and the more classical devices like the BlackBerry Classic or the classic Android phones or the iPhones are gonna look like they're too skinny for your hands. And what about surfing on the web? Surfing on the web feels incredibly handy with this phone. It resembles the usual 4:3 ratio that you see on your desktop. It gives you the optimal look when you're surfing around the net. To be honest, BlackBerry 10 OS itself has a replenished look as well. So let's say that there's a call screen. I'm gonna call to my operator's customer representative, and if you want to launch a dial pad, there's a dial pad here, and look at that animation. It's really flawless how it runs. I really like the way it does this. So BlackBerry 10 might not, BlackBerry Passport, sorry, might not be everyone because it is a bit bulky. Maybe it's a little wide, and despite this screen, it's not exactly the easiest grippable phone in the world, but this totally is an amazing phone. It has one of the top-notch specs, not only for the BlackBerry, but also in the Android world as well. It's got a Snapdragon 801, 3 GB of RAM, and everything pretty much is in the top-notch specs. So if you're a fan of a BlackBerry, or if you want to switch to BlackBerry just because of its keyboard or because of its amazing looks, then you could give it a try. Definitely do that. Not everyone loves their BlackBerries, and I myself sold a BlackBerry, got a Classic, got a Q10, sold the BlackBerry 9900, but you might love it. Actually, it's either hate or love. There could not exactly be a mediocre favorness towards the BlackBerry Passport. It's an either love or hate, so give yourself a try and let us know through the comments. That was BlackBerry Passport, and we definitely love it. I hope you do too. Thank you always, and we'll see you guys later.